Look at how cool this is. All right, so in this video, I'm going to be doing not only a review of this, but also we're going to go through the install, some of the tools that you're going to need, and I'm going to show you how I ended up installing it in the RV and how it might differ from if you install this in your house. Now, before I get too crazy into it, this project kind of snowballed for me because I started installing this and my wife was like, hey, why don't you just go ahead and put in a new faucet? And I was like, well, if we're going to do that, might as well install a new sink. So you're going to see me go from a white sink to this sink. I used to carry around these gallon jugs and we would use this to put it, in the Keurig ice machine and just have regular drinking water. But I wanted to be able to use the water that's on site and actually have something that tastes good and, was actually good quality water. Now I don't have to carry 10 to 20 of these around. Now, the new sink ended up having an extra hole here, which it was normally supposed to be for one of the pump for the soaps, but I'm not going to use that. I ended up using it for this. And this little escutcheon ring that they got covers those big holes. But if you don't have one, all you have to do is drill it with a 1/2 inch drill bit. So I guess that gets into what tools you're going to need. You're going to need a drill of some sort to use for your drill bits. You're going to need a Phillips head, probably also one of the handheld ones. You're going to need a tubing cutter, whether it's a tubing cutter like this, but you can also use a razor knife and a croissant wrench. Now, something to think about when you're installing these is you are going to need a power source. I was lucky enough there where I could just draw a power source from here. But if you've got a garbage disposal, most likely you've got a line that comes down. And a lot of times those garbage disposals are on a switch. What you can do is turn that switch on and keep it on all the time and just turn that hardwired that goes into the garbage disposal into a outlet. Or you can eliminate the switch so it's hot all the time and use an air switch for the garbage disposal, and then you'll also have a plug to be able to plug this in down there. Now don't worry, I'm going to show you some of the during install videos here in a little bit, but you've got 4 different lines that you're going to end up tapping into. We've got the white line that goes into the back that's going to tap in up here to our supply lines, and then we've got the red that comes over here that goes in for the waste. So you are going to have to drill a 1/4 inch hole there. So you're going to need a 1/2 inch drill bit as well as a 1/4 inch drill bit. We've got the blue line here, which ends up tying up to this faucet section itself. And then we've got the yellow line that goes to a storage tank. So it does come with a little sticker that you can mount to the wall so you can find some studs, and it comes with some wall anchors if you're just going into drywall. I ended up putting a backer back there and then put the screws in, and I've got it nice and secured. Now, again, my application is a little different because I'm in an RV, and I knew that it was just going to kind of wobble back and forth as you drive down the road. So I ended up finding this old pad that I had and just slid it back there just so it doesn't vibrate back and forth. So this unit comes with 4 different filters. It's got a sediment filter down there, and then we've got an activated charcoal filter. We've got our reverse osmosis filter, and then we've got a post carbon filter. I don't have the water plugged in right now because my unit is currently winterized, but to turn this thing on, you're just going to push this down and it'll pull water out of the reservoir down there and start pumping out water, and then you can just turn it back off. It's in stainless steel, so now it's going to match all of my other appliances that are already stainless. Now let's get into the unboxing and the install. I was going to install one of these already, but when SimPure hit me up and they were like, hey, we'd like to send you one to test out, I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. Before we get to the install, let's see what's inside. Looks like we've got the pump. And I would assume that inside here we've got our hoses and we've got all of our filters. So it looks like in the kit we've got the manual, we've got the different hoses that's going to connect different things together. Looks like this is the piece that's going to attach to the faucet up here to make this is where the water is going to come out. And then we've got the 4 different filters. We've got the little assembly where the filters get mounted, as well as the storage tank. And it also has these 2 packets of fittings. This is kind of what I was hoping that it would come with, and I didn't have to order one separate, and I'm glad it did. This is going to be where the water comes in. This goes to your faucet here. Then it has its own little shut off where you can shut the water off to the actual filters themselves. This is going to be super helpful when you have to shut the water off and change the filters, or in my case where I have to winterize, I could shut this off and then be able to take the filters off and completely drain the system. Looks like it comes with some other adapters in case you have a different size supply line. My supply line is this 3/8, so I'm not going to need those, but it does have one in case you need it. First thing first, you got to figure out where you're going to mount it and what makes most sense. I think I'm going to just put mine right here in the corner here, so it's out of the way of turning the cold water on, because I do use this section over here for drying. So if I was to put this here, it would kind of mess me up. So I think I'm going to go right here. Well, my project snowballed just a little bit, but let me explain. Most of you won't have this problem, but on RVs, they didn't have these shut-off valves installed. So I went ahead and cut those off and put the shut-off valves on for the PEX that these RVs have. You might have PEX, you might have copper, it might be different things, but most likely you already have one of these installed, and you can install this adapter. And then I was like, well, if I'm cutting that to install that, I might as well install a new faucet. And that turned into also a new sink, which is cool because it's time for an upgrade anyway. One thing that you definitely need to think about is power, because this does need a power source, and I ended up putting a plug down here that I was able to reroute over here. Something else that I had to think about was where I was going to put the tank, and I wanted to still have some space inside of here because space is limited in RVs, and there was a bunch of empty space in here. So I'm going to put the tank in here. Now, obviously, if you have just a regular under sink, you just put it anywhere you want, and I'm going to put the straps right around in here somewhere. So something else that I'm going to have to do is put this drain line in. It's actually going to fit right here before the P-trap. And it definitely has to be before the P-trap, but it's going to fit right there once I get the sink reinstalled. So that's going to be your red line. The blue line is going to actually connect up to the faucet. And then that yellow line is going to be that storage tank. So I guess this is a good time to point out that it does have this little trim ring that comes with the faucet side. You can use the trim ring in case you've got a hole like this. So this sink actually came with two holes. It came with one here already, one here, and that hole is big. Now, if you just drill a 1/2 inch hole, you do not have to use this big trim ring, but they do provide the trim ring if you want to use it. If you are putting in a new sink, install your faucets before you drop the sink in. It's way easier.